So let me go ahead and just jump right into it because that sounds like the perfect transition to go ahead and showing some of this film. What it is, talk about any of the buzzwords, constraints, anything that you just mentioned with that. And yeah, I'll just let you go with it.
This is a very simple decision-making drill that we do. Basically, it's the shot. Do I have the shot or do I make the pass for the one more? There's one defensive player. You can see we start out of a hostage, just a little bit of pressure, just so that it's a little bit of a live dribble, but somewhat similar. I do not, like I said, I do not play very, very good defense, and then the defender on the baseline will start with, basically he's in like a help position or a drop position. And then there's two players, one in the corner, one in the 45 or window wing area. And then the ball handler can pass to either player. And then the defensive player will close out to that player. And like I said, at that point, it becomes, does the person receiving the pass have enough time for the shot, or are they making the one more? So she didn't have, so that becomes the shot. So that's all basically at all. To me, this is almost essentially a shooting drill in some capacity, but there is a small decision-making piece. One from the ball handler reading, one for the ball handler reading where the defender is. Do they have the angle to make the pass to the corner, or do they need to make the pass to the wing or the window area? And then on that catch, the offensive player is deciding, do I have enough time to get my shot off, or do I need to make the one more? Again, very, very basic, but again, it's somewhat relational to a game and that decision making, obviously with a big advantage. And we're just training, the shot selection or the shot decision. And then from there, we build it out to having two defenders. So now there's a little bit more freedom and flexibility. Same thing here. You can see the ball handler still has the choice to make the pass to the drift or the corner or to the window. And then from there, the defense scrambles. You can now play off the closeout. So if we make you still have the shot drive decision or the shot one more decision, and then off that one more, or even off the initial catch, they also now have the opportunity to play off that and attack the basket. They're just, again, adding just a little bit, another layer of offense. If we, have enough hands and enough people helping, we'll add, a shot clock and trying to do this within 6 to 8 seconds at the most. The other thing we really try to emphasize, especially in these drills where there's obviously a big offensive advantage, is the accuracy of our passes. You can see like that. We talk a lot about, one, we don't want to shoot off a bad pass. So if it's a bad pass and we have to reach for it, lunge for it, that shot no longer becomes a great shot for us. So we want to make sure that we're being really accurate with that and understanding what's a great pass, and are we leading our shooter into a position where they can catch and shoot, and then just being really intentional with that piece.
Is there anything more that you do to teach, anything like you just gave, to teach, great shot, good shot, what we don't want to shoot off, instead drive off, that kind of thing?
We do. We will also incorporate like extra points within the drill. So we also we track like on these, as we consider them, shooting drills in some capacity or big offensive advantage drills. We'll track points, so 2s and 3s, and then basically when we score, we get 2s and 3s, and then when we don't make the basket, we give the guest or the opponent the 2 or 3. So it's almost like we're playing against that, and then we'll give an extra point for a really accurate pass. And then we talk about it. We tend to debrief after most drills or sessions and talk about what was good about that session and what we need to improve on. Our passing accuracy is definitely something we're always discussing and focusing on, and they probably hear it more than they want to. And but I think it's just, it's just understand what it leads to and what we're trying to accomplish. If they understand that we didn't get the shooter, our best shooter has 2 years ago, she led the nation in 3-point field goal percentage. Last year, she shot 40% from 3 on a high volume. Like, she only has a half second to get her shot off. She only has a half second of space before the defense is going to send 2 people at her. So if it's not a great pass, we haven't given her, we've lost a really good shot opportunity for us. So just making sure the players understand that and, how they set their teammates up to be successful. And I will say we're very fortunate. We have a pretty unselfish team, and they like to share the ball. And I like to think, I mean, what we emphasize is a big part of that too.
I know everybody knows that it's important, as throwing strikes or whatever way you refer to it, till we about a year and a half ago started making it something that we talked about like every drill. That's when it finally improved and our shooting percentage improved. I know you need to be able to shoot off of bad passes because it doesn't always happen like that in a game. But I also do think that
Right.
your number of bad passes decreases if you do make it a consistent point of emphasis, and you do see everybody's percentage start to increase when you throw strikes.
No, absolutely. And again, same with us. Our first year, we didn't really talk about it as much, the passing. Like we talked about passing and turnovers and things like
Sure.
that. But from a shot selection standpoint, we didn't necessarily emphasize it. And then into year two and last year, especially, we really focused on adding, again, a few things. Like I said, the extra point for passing accuracy, and just making sure that they understood how important that piece is to our success and the success of the, percentage that we shoot, which, knock on wood, has been pretty high.
Mhm.
Sure, yeah, it kind of leads into the same drill, but just adding a little bit of so it's a little bit harder to see, but on the left side of the screen is our guard breakdown of it. And it's the same drill, but now we're kind of going out of like a ball screen. So we run a ball screen motion. So now as coaches, we're just dummy defense. We start out of kind of like a hostage hold situation and then coming off a ball screen. But again, same reads. Now we have two defenders on the weak side, but other than that, the drill is pretty much the same. But just kind of understanding how to layer it a little bit with some of the actions that we use within our offense. Just to kind of get them some reps. The angles matter, so it's a little bit different when you're coming off that ball screen. Trying to focus on. We also talk about like coming off that ball screen, getting our shoulders parallel to the baseline so that we can scan the whole court and make sure that we're making the right read in each situation.
Everybody's always asking, like, how do we get better in the ball screen? And we all know it's now a 5-man action. And I even was watching, notice the other day in the Olympics, knowing where help is coming from. Teams are getting more creative about not always coming from the same spot. And when you have a point guard that can quickly identify where help came from, make the right pitch, and then that person either shoot it or get the dominoes falling is like essential. And this is a very simple drill that you can do to work on that.
And that's the same thing. We talk about like my position group here at BU is the point guards and combo guards. So we talk a lot about that, reading the second layer of the defense. Like you can read the primary defense on a ball screen, but your job then is you reading the secondary layer, the help defense, the post that's stepping up. Is it coming, from the corner? Is it coming from where is the tag coming from? Like all those different things that becomes, the end goal. And then again, from that perspective, once we've made that read of where our pass out is, then we're reading, do we have the shot? Do we need to make the one more? On the one more, do we have the shot again, or do we need to attack the long closeout? And then, like you said, just playing off that dominoes.
Are there any like buzzwords or anything that you use while you're going through this? And I was just wondering in general, I know last time we talked even about like feedback and frequency of feedback, anything like that?
One thing we talk about a lot is I use the term scanning. So we're always scanning corner to corner. So again, I want our point guards and our guards, anybody coming off that ball screen action, anybody in transition, just constantly scanning the floor and seeing side to side. And again, in order to be able to do that, we need to get our shoulders downhill and our shoulders turned a little bit to the basket. So you can see, like I said, we start in a hostage situation coming off that ball screen. So our body's a little bit turned, protecting the ball. But then as soon as we come off that ball screen, we want to, depending on, coverages and things like that, we want to get our body to where we can see both sides. Like I said, so if the tag is coming from the strong side, then we know we have the lift and we need to make a hook pass to that player. As the tag comes from the weak side and we need to see that weak side corner, but just making sure that we're not going lateral in that space. So I use kind of that kind of gets our guards understanding how to turn their body, how to shift, and making sure that they're seeing the whole court in order to make the various secondary reads. The other thing we just talk a lot about the playing off the catch. And that's a very simple term, but We want to play off long closeouts as much as possible. That's ultimately our goal. And then, what does that look like from there? And then we use the advantages. How do we get big advantages? And then, yeah, like you said, I'm talking a lot now, but there are many days in practice where I get done and I'm like, gosh, I hardly said anything, but it's allowing the players, you build the foundation and then you allow them to kind of figure things out in space, depending on time and space, depending on where you are in the season, where they are, and how long they've been in the program and stuff like that. So I like to think that they do a pretty good job of understanding what we're looking for at this point. This is a relatively newer drill for us, but I've come to highly enjoy it. But building on, this is a 4-on-3 continuous drill in the half court. Basically, similarly, it's a little bit of a decision-making shooting drill. I kind of see it as, but we put 1.5 minutes on the clock, 8-second shot clock. We're working down toward a 6-second shot clock. The offensive players are just trying to score as quick as possible. That's the only rule. They're just trying to score as quick as possible. They then, as soon as the shot goes up, make or miss, they are immediately going back, touching half court. The defense will grab the ball, outlet it to a coach, and then the coach, once all 4 players have touched half court, the coach puts it back in play. So you can kind of see they're just, again, 6-second shot clock. Defense is scrambling, just trying to make it as tough as possible every possession. They can go wherever they want. So when they touch half court, they don't always have to run to the same side or the same spot. They obviously tend to. This might have even been one of the first times we did it. But it's a very fast, you got to think fast. It's a little chaotic. I love chaos. But we're just trying, obviously you have a 1-person advantage. So we're trying to hunt layups. We're trying to hunt uncontested shots. But you have to do it very quickly because there's only 8 seconds and you're trying to score as many points as possible. Like I said, 1.5 minutes and they were gassed. Mm-hmm. They were so tired.
I'm getting tired of watching this. This is pretty high pace.
It is. And it's very, like, you can see there were a lot of turnovers. And again, very first time, I'll give us credit. It was the very first time. I'm pretty sure it was the first time we did it. So our spacing wasn't great. We were worried about the clock. The defense did a good job scrambling and making it tough for us. And then after 1.5 minutes, we flip. And then the offense, the gray team would be on offense. The red team would be on defense. And then whoever wins. But I really like this drill. We did it again since this first one. We got a little bit better. We still have a long ways to go. You could also do it from a defensive perspective, which I think is something, in the off season, we don't focus a whole lot on that piece, like postseason and stuff. But going into next year, we've talked about using it from a defensive perspective and keeping track of stops just to force us to really work on our scramble in a short shot clock situation and things like that. It's a really, again, another advantage drill that we like to use for the decision-making piece, the recognizing and trying to hunt great shots, which again, for us are layups and uncontested shots and shots off the catch. So here we go into kind of starting into some of our advantage games or constraint games. So this is, we call it 3-on-3 Wildcat Rules. And basically the rule, it's 3-on-3. We play with almost everything we do. We play with the half-second rule. So trying to make a decision on the catch in a half second. Depending on where we are in the season, we can be a little bit more lenient as coaches with that or more strict. The other rule that we incorporate is always, you have to make sure you catch and look at the rim. Our players have a bad habit of catching and looking, not even looking at the basket. So just getting eyes to the rim every time. And then our other inherent rule is no dead dribbles. So making sure that we have purpose with our dribble. So those are our kind of foundational rules that we play anytime we do small-sided games, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 2-on-2. This one, 3-on-3 Wildcat specifically is, and I probably spoke about it last time, but now hopefully have a little bit of visual. So every catch has to be outside the 3-point line or on a direct cut to the basket that leads to a layup. So basically we're trying to not catch the ball in the mid-range. Now they can attack off the dribble into the mid-range, but they cannot receive a pass in the mid-range unless it's on a cut that's going to lead directly to a layup. So they can't cut catch it, and then take 3 dribbles to the basket if it's inside the 3-point line, if that makes sense. So it'll kind of you'll see how that plays out a little bit. Just again, for the purpose, there's a couple of reasons it's one of my favorite 3-on-3 games to play, but just working on spacing. So making sure that, when we pass, if we do make a cut to the basket and we don't receive the ball, we don't stay in that no man's land. We get out and try to get outside the 3-point line to make sure that we're catching outside of that area. The other thing is understanding, like, when we make a pass to a player, we want to lead them into a position where they are scoring. Otherwise, it might not be a great pass to make. Like if they're making a Iverson cut and it's leading them to the sideline and the person's going under and it's not necessarily going to lead them to an advantage, do we want to make that pass? So just kind of helping them kind of understand what we're sending our teammate into. And then the last part of that puzzle piece is, with 3 people, you can set off ball screens. There are no ball screens in this. You can set off ball screens. So making sure that we're intentional with the angle that we're setting off ball screens, and not, again, sending them. For some reason, the very first time any team I've done does this, they pass and then they love to, anytime the ball goes to like the top, they love to set like a cross screen across the free throw line. And I have no idea where it's not a screen you ever practice anywhere. And it does, and it sends your teammate like across to the sideline and almost like an Iverson, but I'm always dumbfounded by that. And we have to stop and be like, okay, now what are we sending them into? Like, is there a better angle for the screening action? Where do we want them to go, kind of thing. But it is, again, just kind of gets them to understand, where they want to receive catches, and what we want to emphasize, outside the 3, creating space, or cutting to the basket, leading to a layup. And as a passer and receiver, making sure we're putting each other in a position to be successful. This is another advantage drill we do. It's basically a 4-on-3+1. So it's 4-on-4, but we start with an offensive advantage for the ball handler. We will start with just doing it 4-on-4, not out of an action. You'll see as we go through, we run pistol. So we run pistol as our secondary break. So then we'll change the formation. So we're running it out of a pistol action, but still with the big offensive advantage. So how it starts is our head coach is at half court. Offense starts in the back court. Defender on the ball handler will start with their heels on the semicircle at half court. And then we will mix up sometimes we have an empty corner. Sometimes we have the post at the low post and the trail. Right now we have the trail and then both wings, basically. But you can, again, whatever, your offense is, wherever your formation and your spacings are, is where you can put the offensive players. But it's a pretty big advantage. Again, with this, we talk a lot about, we usually do like a pretty quick shot clock, so 10 to 12 seconds, depending on, again, what we're emphasizing. And then with this drill, again, 2s and 3s, then we give the opponents 2s and 3s if we miss the shot based on what the shot value was. And then we will give 1 extra point for passing accuracy. Cool. Or sometimes we just won't count the basket if it's a bad pass, even if we make it.
Yeah.
So just kind of understanding that.
They get the extra point only if it goes in?
Yes. So here it is. So this is out of pistol. So we've changed and now we're running it out of our pistol action. But everything else is the same. Still with the short shot clock, trying to make quick choices and then moving off of it and getting in and out of space. So here's the pistol action. We set the screen to the baseline and we give them that freedom and then just making quick reads out of that. That was a good possession for us.
That was good. That was good. So is this from this summer?
This is from this is from last season, actually, in season. So that's why you guys have our practice guys.
Gotcha. So you guys have built up to this. This is what you would run, in a January practice, just repping your offense for a short period of time.
Yep. And so what we do We will start with not like basically like we've done this summer. So our players are here this summer for 6 weeks. And so we've done the basic 4-on-4 piece with the spacing concepts and just kind of moving them around to different places, whether we have like I said, post in the trail, post in the low posts, but we haven't done as much with the pistol piece yet, but we will like going into the fall, but we will do this probably 2 or 3 times a week throughout the whole season. It's kind of just, it's almost like it becomes our warm up a little bit in a way as we get deeper into the season, just as a way for us to refresh what our looks are. We'll change the coverages on the ball screen in pistol based on who we're playing that week. So it's just kind of, it's also a little bit of a game prep piece for us. Or if like the defense is, a lot of teams will be very specific in taking certain actions away, like they'll take away that drift pass for us in that baseline. So we'll make sure that our defense, especially when we're fortunate enough to have our scout guys or our practice guys, we'll make sure that they take that away, consistently and force us to make the other reads and things like that. This is a more player development piece, but I kind of preface the beginning with figuring out what you want to work on and creating a drill. So this is me creating a drill on something I wanted to work on, and in our individual sessions where it may be a 1 person or 2 people, but still trying to work on something specific in that space. So for us, I wanted to work on passing off, like our passing accuracy and passing off the dribble. So, and we talk a lot about, again, our guards getting to spots. So the cones are just different spots. You can move them, put them wherever you want. I just put them in those spots, but I created a situation where they can go to any spot anytime they want. So they're just going cone to cone. And then that weak side player is a coach right now because I'm video. As soon as that coach calls for the ball, the offensive player has to pick up and make that pass. So again, we're just working on passing off the dribble, and I want them getting the ball out of their hand as quick as possible. And then having the defensive player just there to apply pressure. But we're also working on our hostage dribble. So you can see she's just trying to get to her spot. So we're working on that piece, all using our hostage, using our veer. And then I evolved the drill to then include, like, we did it where they had to retreat dribble every time they got to a spot. So they get to their spot, retreat dribble, get to their next spot, retreat dribble. And then as soon as the coach calls for the ball and the coach can move on the weak side, they have to be able to make an accurate pass to that coach. And it's how, and the feedback for that just is basically like how quickly they're getting the ball out of their hands, what kind of pass. I have one player who just wants to throw like bullet passes all the time. And I'm like, there's a time and a place, she wants to get it on a line, and that's how she is as a player. And I appreciate that. But sometimes sometimes the pass is a little bit of a loop pass, or it's a hook pass, all the way across court. Today we had one player throw an underhand pass across court, which actually was very effective and very creative. And I will say she's an international player, so she has a little bit of that flair to her. But, I want them feeling the different passes and being able to make, you don't know which hand it's going to be in when the coach calls for the ball. So is it going to be a push pass? Is it going to be a hook pass? Different things like that. But just kind of wanted to show something that we've, incorporated, and just talking about working back from what you want the skill or the decision piece to be, and then just trying to create that scenario as best you can with whatever limitations you have, whether it's number of players or space or, things like that.
No, I'm glad you included that. The ability to coaching superpower to put together a drill or make up a game. But I think too, sometimes we think like coaching superpower equals this incredible game that involves a lot of players and a lot of movement and 5 or 6 skills and that kind of thing. But keeping it simple so you can focus in on one thing kind of leads me to how I get the question all the time, like, how long are you doing this? Is this something like this, like 2 or 3 minutes?
Yeah, I would say maybe closer to 5 or 6. We'll evolve it. So, again, if I'm the coach on that weak side, so we did this just strictly like it is here. And then the next time we did it, I evolved it. I was like, okay, how can we go from here? So then the next time after the offensive player made the pass, they had to exit for a catch and shoot. And then from there, I evolved it. So I was like, well, let's make the defend. If I have a defender, if I don't have a defender, if it's me on one player, that's where the drill kind of ends with the catch and shoot. But then if I had a defender, I had the defender then run at them for, they had to play off that catch. So do they have enough time to get their shot off, or is the defender able to get there and take it away? And then we go into a pull up or a finish. So then, it kind of, if I have more players, then I add, like if that can be a player on that weak side, then it becomes a 2-on-1 situation and we're doing the same thing and we're moving off penetration.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't know that I've talked about it a lot of places. I actually did a clinic on it one time, but the idea of just building your small sided games. And I think that my players have had, now that I think about it, and the more I think about it, add in, like you said, another piece. And I think a lot of times coaches just think you add another player, but it doesn't have to be another player. It could be another skill or something that whatever happens next in a game. Like, I'm even seeing this, you could, after you pass, relocate, and then you're playing one-on-one or like shooting off of this or something like that. But the ability to build that, the transfer, then I think the players have of stringing whatever is next, so that what's next in your conceptual offense to then see the full picture of the 5-on-5 or whatever, instead of just taking these random small-sided games and like, we're going to play this for 5 minutes and then it becomes some other good but kind of random in the overall scheme of things. Like, all right, now let's work on this for 5 minutes. You miss out maybe sometimes on helping that player link one piece to the next and allow it to grow, and for them to grow in their understanding of the complexity of the whole thing.
No, I 100% agree. And fortunately, I've been doing this a long time, and, I obviously have very much embraced and adopted the approach with the small sided game. So even within a workout, like I'll visualize it as I would see it play out in a game. And it sounds like similarly you would do as well. And so for me, it's not easy, but it's something that I've learned to be able to do that on the fly, within that workout. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. Now after she makes that pass, she needs to exit and get out for a shot. And then, what comes next? Okay, now she's playing off that closeout. What comes next? And like you said, and it does, I think, again, having that continuity of what would happen in a game makes it more realistic, and the transfer much more seamless and likely for the players into the game performance, which is ultimately what we want.